And we're here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another show of the Three Count. This is the Takeover 25 preview with Benny Thurman III and Jaquan Turner.
Hashtag Ghostface.
The man in the dark.
Yowie wowie.
So tomorrow night is the 25th Takeover event for NXT that's putting on right now. So let's see what's going on. It's been a pretty good couple of weeks for wrestling fans. 3 pay-per-views in a row, week by week. So Double or Nothing pretty much set a nice standard after that crap show that WWE put for Money in the Bank. Let's see what
that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah, let's see what Triple H can put up with his own show on NXT. So let's start it off with Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong.
I don't see how Matt Riddle can lose at this point, especially because it seems like they're building him for NXT title run. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like he can lose, especially as good as Roderick Strong is. I feel like, again, unless it's for a title, I don't think Undisputed ever wins.
I feel you. This is one of the matches that I had some issues with earlier when I was going over the card, but then I remembered that Matt Riddle actually lost at TakeOver New York, and I was just like, nah, he's not losing again. He's not losing again. So I'm taking Matt Riddle on this one as well.
I think we all agree Matt Riddle's going to take this one. I think this is a good match to start it off, and I think it's going to set up the nice bar. It's just going to be one of those like usual NXT first match puts you here, and it just goes up and up and up and up from there. Kind of like what we saw Double or Nothing. So moving on, which I'm surprised is the next match. I'm not sure if it's just the order, but the next match is the North American Championship. Velveteen Dream versus Tyler Breeze.
I think that's a good second match because it not only does it add, it's gonna really be a character-driven match, much like the Cody match. Like, this isn't about the wrestling as much as it is the reemergence of Prince Pretty, Velveteen Dream continuing his basic dominance over NXT in terms of him being the clear, somewhat face, I guess you could call him. But he is definitely like the when you think of NXT now, it's starting to really, really galvanize behind Velveteen Dream. And you know that the entrances are going to be like 15 minutes long each. So like, I'm not so much worried about the match, just to see like the character matchup, because it's like Tyler Breeze finally gets like that breath of fresh air where he can be Prince Pretty, because now he doesn't have to worry about like the Fashion Police and Fandango or any of that, because I personally don't even think Fandango's coming back. I think he might just be done. But Prince Pretty gets to be Prince Pretty, and Velveteen Dream and Prince Pretty has been a dream match for a lot of people. So I think it's going to be a very, very good match. But I 100% think it's going to be Dream, because I don't see Tyler Breeze coming in and winning the North American title unless they're ready to put Dream in the main title picture, which I don't think they are, because I still think it's too crowded.
You know, the funny thing about it is, like, this right here had me coin flipping earlier. Because normally, when you look at a WWE pay-per-view, the person that's returning, the person that's making his debut, that's almost an automatic win. But this ain't WWE. This is NXT. This is Triple H's baby. Right, this isn't the whole Vince thing and everything like that. And I honestly think that if Velveteen Dream was to lose the North American Championship, that would do more harm than good. Because he's only had this belt for a couple of months at this point. And it's not like he's had title defense after title defense after title defense. So him winning this match actually helps even more solidify him as a soon-to-be main eventer when it comes to NXT. And on top of the fact that Tyler Breeze still to this day has not held gold in the WWE. Neither his first run in NXT nor his run on the main roster. which you could sit up there and you could say, okay, if Velveteen Dream takes him with this one, then you could sit up there and build this character like Tyler Breeze, just like I came back and I still couldn't get it done. I gotta start. I gotta do something. I deserve some gold. And I honestly think that that's what they're gonna start trying to build to. So you put it like we got another one that me and Jaquan are sitting up here agreeing on that we're gonna have Dream retaining his championship.
At least he's got at least one more defense in him. I think after this defense, though, the next big show, he'll drop it because at that point, because of all the great character work that he's doing, he would have built enough of a reputation where it's like Dream. Because at this point, it's like if Dream loses, you're right, it hurts him because it's like okay, now he has to wait in line until the whole Gargano and Cole thing kind of, even or smashes out or whatever phrase you want to put. If you wait until the next one, by that point, it'll be done. And then you'll have guys like if you say he drops it on the next big championship, come the end of the year going into next year, you put it on Dream, then you have the beef with Matt Riddle. You have the Undisputed Era sitting there if you still want them to be there. You have all these, you have, Keith Lee, you have Djokovic or whatever his name is. Like you have guys that now you've had time to build to where you have a new main event scene. I don't know the guy's name. I can listen, bro. I can't with these names right now.
I know.
But that's the thing with NXT too. Like they're not, Djokovic, whatever. And when he comes back from injury, so I think like NXT, they have a lot of mid carders, and I think that because everything goes through Dream, and Dream can basically, he's kind of like Dolph to me. He can make a lot of guys look good that aren't necessarily that good, and you need that kind of champion. And then you can wait, like you said, build Tyler Breeze, and then put the strap on Tyler Breeze when you're ready to take it off of Dream, because Tyler Breeze is a natural, in terms of character work, successor to Velveteen Dream. And then at that point, like you'll have Matt Riddle on a main event scene. You'll have all these other guys. And then you can have like Tyler Breeze as champion. Then you can bring up guys like Kushida and Punishment Martinez, whatever he's going by right now. Then you can have those next line of talent in the ring with the guy who's been in both WWE and NXT. And then you actually have a character arc for him to say, like, I'm better than all of you because I've made it on both. And then they have the counterpoint of, well, you just won a championship. Like the story kind of really does build itself. And it keeps all the people that you want to see win out of the championship picture where, now you have to almost rebuild the mid card around Tyler Breeze. And then you can bring back guys like Mojo. You can bring back an Apollo Crews. You can even bring back a Rusev if you wanted to, just so that it like those guys who aren't being used can get the rub and can get the work in. But you can also give Tyler Breeze, like, I'm beating guys from WWE, from the main roster, and from NXT. And then you also still have Pete Dunne sitting there doing nothing. And imagine having Pete Dunne and Tyler Breeze and having Pete Dunne looked at as the first ever UK and North American champion. You can kind of really build that. But you still have to wait until all the other programs are done. So that's why I think Velveteen holds on to it now, but I do think Tyler Breeze is set up to be the next North American champion.
Yeah, I agree. I think Velveteen wins this one, but I think Tyler Breeze wins the rematch, which happens the night before SummerSlam Takeover event.
Yeah.
I think that's when they're going to switch.
This one might even be a dusty finish. It wouldn't surprise me if this was a dusty finish.
It wouldn't surprise me either.
No.
But who the heel in this situation would be, I'm not sure. Because I don't see either guy as a heel. I think Tyler would be a better version of a heel in this situation, because Velveteen's a guy that, although he's cocky, although he's arrogant, although he does talk down to a lot of people, and he has this ego, he's not a malicious person.
No.
Tyler Breeze seems like he has a really big chip on his shoulder, so it's easy for you to muck up his character a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I see Velveteen as a tweener, like
Yeah,
a tweener that leans a little more to the healer side because of the way he does things, but he's still not like a full out heel though. You can't really
yeah,
classify him as a heel.
exactly.
He's not a face at all, but he's like we're saying, he's a tweener, leaning a little towards the heel. Um, yeah, that's the way I see it. I don't think they need to build that North American title a little more. They need to have somebody to hold it for some time. Um,
And
like
they
I
played
said,
hot potato with it a little too much recently with Johnny Gargano, and then that whole thing, and then the Worlds Collide tournament. Like they played a little too much hot potato with it
mhm,
for a little while, and I was just like, that kind of diminished it a little bit. So I
yeah,
think, yeah, you're right. They need to kind of keep it on somebody and give it a face, like they did the Intercontinental title in the Miz.
right. Well, they can do that with the title and Tyler Breeze when he takes it over in next one.
Yeah.
But moving on, the one that I really don't like, don't understand is the tag team.
Hmm.
So it's a
Why don't you
four
like
way.
it?
It's because all right.
Please
So
explain.
okay. So the way did you watch when the War Raiders rescinded the titles?
Yes. Yes.
So they lost, or it was a no contest, and then
Mm-hmm.
out comes this. So I would have preferred the Street Profits to lose or to win, and then you start off a feud with everybody else. That's fine. But you have a no contest, and then they're just gone.
See, I again, I agree with you in the way we got to the match. I agree. I don't like how they got the titles off of War Raiders, because I'm not calling them anything else because they're War Raiders.
Right.
I don't care what the company says.
Oh no, I'm calling the War Raiders too. I'm not going away from that.
Yeah.
But see, and,
I don't like the method to it, but I like the free for all kind of like uh homage almost to the Edge Christian Hardy Boys
Dudley
Dudley
Boys.
Boys thing. Like I love that it's kind of become that kind of Wild West tag division that we had in the Attitude Era, where like everyone's jockeying for position and everyone has a rightful claim to the throne, so to speak. Like all of these teams are very much worthy of being tag team champions, and they all have their own claim to the throne. I would have just rather it would have been a, since Vince doesn't like the continuancy of NXT to WWE anyway, write War Raiders off with an injury and force them to rescind the titles. Like you could have had Forgotten Sons like break Eric's arm or something, or like take out his knee, and they're like, well, they can't compete in this match, so they have to rescind the titles, and then we have a free for all, and then they just go up to the main roster. Like it's the same thing they did with Kyrie Sane. Like they took out her elbow, and the next thing you know, she's on the main roster and she has no wraps, no bandages, no nothing. Like you don't
yeah,
care about continuity anyway, so like let's not do it. We're like, oh well, we beat up everybody. We're still War Raiders, but we're gonna rescind the titles because we have other things to do. Like no, that cheapens your titles.
yeah.
That's to me, that's the worst part of this whole situation, is that it kind of cheapens the tag titles, because it's like, well, we didn't lose them, so we're just gonna rescind them. And it's like, no, it wasn't even like the War Raiders. If this was the case, then they should have just left it on Undisputed Era, because it's not like the War Raiders had it long enough to have a claim to like, oh, no one can beat us. They didn't. They faced all of 3 teams, maybe, since they got the titles.
Yeah.
Like it's a. But I think again, it's Triple H trying to adjust to the fact that Vince is being a parasite again to his roster.
Mm.
I just think that even in the short term, you could have had a better like War Raiders. Like they could have had that whole free for all. They could have even had the same thing as they could have had the whole last week thing happen, where it's a no contest finish, right? And the Street Profits get the metaphorical pin, whatever, right? And then the whole dust up with Oni and Larkin and Forgotten Sons. But instead of having War Raiders come out on top, you have those 2 teams really do a number on the War Raiders and have the War Raiders take some serious bumps, and then have Triple H come out like he did with Tommaso Ciampa and say, listen, the War Raiders have not only been called up, but they're not clear to compete at NXT Takeover, so they were forced to relinquish their titles. Boom, done. Forget the rules because they did it to Naomi. Like Naomi was definitely back in enough time to defend her title, but they still stripped her of it when she had the SmackDown Women's title, and
There
she had
are
to leave
no
because of
rules.
injury. Yeah, exactly. Like there really are no rules. So like you could have written it in such a cleaner way where War Raiders gave like the Forgotten Sons a rub that they really do need, because the only thing that they have is that they have the big Jack dude that basically freaking the guy from Of Mice and Men that gets shot in the head at the end because he doesn't talk and he's just big and stupid and literally has like no wrestling arsenal whatsoever. I don't care what people say. He's terrible. He's just jacked. But Jackson Riker, I think his name is, or whatever. That's all they have. And then they won. They got to the finals of the Dusty Rose tournament. Fair, but they don't have as much as like Oni and Larkin took Undisputed Era to the limit last year. Like that tag team match is one of the best I've seen in my life, and it was no stipulation. It was a straight up match. You know, Street Profits have been putting in the work for literally years. It had to be. I think they came onto the scene like a year and a half to almost 2 years ago, and they've been putting on great matches ever since they got here. So they have a legitimate claim. Undisputed Era is Undisputed Era. Like that, nothing else needs to be said. But like, what do the Forgotten Sons have?
Yeah.
They don't have much. So like, let them get the rub. Like, oh yeah, we took out the War Raiders. Now we're taking the titles.
What I would have liked to have done is that Street Profits would have beaten and gotten the pin on the War Raiders, but the way what had happened was you got the Forgotten Sons. So something happens with the Street Profits where the referee's back is turned, and then the Forgotten Sons come in. They take out one of the War Raiders, completely take them out. Lorcan and what's his name come in and take out the other one, and then they throw them both in, and then the Street Profits get the pin. They're the champs, but then the other two teams come by like, all right, you won because of us. Now we won a title, and then you get this whole three-way, and then Undisputed comes in because like, no, we won it, had last. Or you could write any way you want, but at least this way you get the other two teams involved. You know,
I get what you're saying. I just don't. I wouldn't like the fact of. I like the fact that no team has the title. I like the fact that they're vacant, because at that point, that means that everyone. It's not like, oh, we're just gonna do it and this team retains. Like whoever wins it, it's gonna have that moment. Period. And that's what I kind of want. I wanted the Street Profits to win it on a bigger stage than just an NXT episode. What would have made more sense to me is if they would have had the War Raiders beaten, and then Forgotten Sons took out the referee, where like you hear the crowd do the 1, 2, 3, and then like they get all hyped and they're looking for the ref, and the ref's not there, and then they get taken out along with War Raiders. And then, you know, you can do the whole whoever you want to stand out last or whatever, or you can just literally have all these guys take each other out.
Yeah.
And then Triple H just comes out and says, like, you know, due to the fact that of the schedule that the War Raiders now have on the main roster and the injuries that they've sustained due to last week's match with the Street Profits and the subsequent attack after, they've been forced to relinquish the titles. Boom. They still remain strong because everybody got taken out. Like, it literally just stops at a stalemate, and they're just like, well, they can't have the War Raiders getting hurt because they're on Raw. Even though they're back in catering on Raw, they're still on Raw. That way, everyone remains strong. The Street Profits technically got the win. They got the win in the eyes of the people. And then you start from scratch and you have it vacant, because the idea that they're vacant and it's in a ladder match is just, it's great. I don't know what it is about ladder matches and tag teams, but there's something special about that image of those guys on top of the ladders, or like the spots that can happen, spots that probably will happen, you know, with the difference in styles. I really like that aspect of it. It's just the way it happened was really messy, and in a lot of ways it's Vince killing the tag divisions on all three shows.
What do you think, Benny?
Well, as far as the build, I'm gonna be honest with you. The way the War Raiders beat the living hell out of the Undisputed Era at the last takeover, I'm sitting up here and I'm just like, how much more do you want? How much more do you want to put like the rest of these teams or whatever and have them basically turn into fodder? Because the way, like, granted, with the Aleister Black Ricochet thing, that match was amazing, all right? But you already knew who was winning, who wasn't, because Black and Ricochet were already moving up, all right? As far as the other teams that are down in NXT right now, and let me excuse myself real quick. I need to stop saying down in NXT because NXT is up here and the
True
main roster
that.
over
True
here
that.
somewhere.
Yeah,
True
pretty
that.
much.
True that.
Um, as far as the other teams that are in NXT right now, when you compared them to how the War Raiders were being presented, without overworking the Royal Raiders, I honestly couldn't see a legitimate way of taking the titles away from them without a dusty finish, and I wouldn't want that. Um, what I kind of sort of would have done in that situation is I would have had them hold on to it. Don't just drop it right off the bat. If you want them to, if you want them to drop those titles, then go ahead. Have them, since they're not doing anything on Raw right now, have them hold on to those belts or whatever, and still be appearing on Raw in a way they were like, and then just sporadic matches here and there and everything like that. So they're sitting up there and they're like, listen, we're rocking the WWE. We're also still your NXT Tag Team Champions. As a matter of fact, if Hawkins and Ryder want some, we could put them down too and be carrying both of these belts. Then, you have a situation where, all right, we're pushing the War Raiders up and then allowing them to set up a situation where they can drop those NXT tag titles without having some BS way of doing it. So say you put them into a situation where, and this is just coming off of the top of my head after like 10 hours worth of work. So it sounds a little disjointed or whatever, but what I'm
No,
basically trying
you're
to
making
say,
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
what I'm basically trying to say is like the War Raiders or whatever, that you push them into the main roster title picture and then allow them to drop the NXT tag titles or whatever to one of these up and coming teams without like, okay, guys, we're not on the NXT roster anymore, so here.
Well, I get what you
That's
mean.
trash to me.
I would have liked to see. It's like the same thing when KO went up and fought John Cena and won the U.S. title, or when
Thank you.
Paige won the other title. It's like
Yeah.
I'd rather see. The thing I hate about Vince that he did is when he brought the War Raiders up, he didn't let them bring up the titles.
He's been
Because
doing that for some reason.
and it doesn't make sense to me because if you bring up the NXT titles and the War Raiders show up, then it's like, oh, they're the NXT champions. Let's go back and watch NXT. So you make more money anyway, stupid. Like
And
you're
what killed me,
getting more like But
He's
I think
picky.
that
killed
what
me
you
with
mean
that,
is like
He's picky
like
on it though, because Ciampa had the belt when he went up to Raw.
Ciampa and
thank you.
Gargano
That's
did. Both of them
exactly
did.
what I was about to
Both
say.
of them did.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy too is that like you could have Brock Lesnar at the tag titles. If you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
If you were gonna do that, you could have Brock Lesnar at the tag titles. And then that would have added all the more fuel to the tag team saying, like, you're not even here. You're not even representing NXT anymore. So you almost kind of flip the War Raiders to the heels that they are on Raw and SmackDown on NXT for them not being there. And then the War Raiders only show up when either there's a legitimate team. Like you could have had this match and had it been a number one contender thing.
Well,
Where
not even that. What I'm thinking is you could have taken maybe Undisputed Era out if you wanted. Put the War Raiders in here. They weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything the whole time since they relinquished the belts until now. They weren't doing jack. They could have been in this match and they could have lost it without even taking the pin.
Or if you want to get real creative, just throw the War Raiders into it and you have 5 teams. This isn't an actual tag match. It's a freaking ladder match. You can do whatever you want with this.
That's true. And then you have that be what you like. I understand they're building around Gargano and Cole, but we've seen Gargano and Cole already. Right? It's not like Gargano and Ciampa where there's any real story. This is not a real story. It's just two of the top guys feeling like because Ciampa got hurt, now it's their turn. Johnny had his moment, but for Johnny to have his moment and then Cole to take it the next pay-per-view, like we are all maybe it's just me, but it doesn't make sense for Cole to even have the title right now.
No,
like
too
the
quick.
only and then the only like story he has is, oh, I'm gonna kick Roderick Strong out. Like that's dumb.
Yeah, that was
so
that
like
was
you build the pay-per-view around the tag match and you give these guys the time. And then you can have a quick finish or a decent match for the NXT title because we know it's probably going to end Dusty anyway. Or Gargano's going to hit some kind of crazy, astonishing move, and that's it. Or you just don't have the Matt Riddle match and just have it be those 3 fights and you have it to be the 3 championships so that you just build it as like a Night of Champions kind of thing since you have like the 25 moniker with the XS and 4. You have the 4 titles just be defended and that be all and just have it be like this is a showcase of the best from NXT and it's just the titles because the Matt Riddle match is kind of like a pre-show match. Like it's a good match but it's kind of pointless and it's just building Riddle's feud with the Undisputed Era. It's that and it's building his feud with the Undisputed Era and you could easily build that in the world title match where Matt Riddle comes out to help Johnny Gargano retain. Boom, Matt Riddle's the main player. Done. You don't need a whole match for that.
So, who do you have winning the tag team ladder match?
Street Profits.
Benny?
Okay, pause. My heart says Street Profits, but my head says Undisputed Era because Benny brought it up a while ago where he said Undisputed Era would clean gold at some point or another where Undisputed Era will hold all the gold, and I think that that's what they're building to.
That's what I had said they should be doing.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they're building to now. That's why they put Undisputed Era back in after the whole Roderick Strong thing. But my heart wants Street Profits, but because of how iconic the Brooklyn venue is, it makes more sense for them to win it in Brooklyn at SummerSlam than it would for them to win it right now.
They're not doing it. They're not doing it. SummerSlam's in Toronto this year.
Whatever. It's still that. It's still that.
For who to win it? Who to win it in SummerSlam weekend?
Street Profits.
No. Well, I'll explain later, but
No, because I'm saying because of the fact that I would rather them win it at a bigger venue. In terms of that, I'm not sure if there's a takeover before Survivor Series though.
No, it's Takeover Toronto. Takeover Toronto. That's the SummerSlam one.
No, I'm saying I don't know if there's one before Survivor Series.
Oh, between SummerSlam and Survivor Series, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I have to look at the calendar.
I'm not sure. I think there's one more after the SummerSlam takeover. I'm not 100% on that one. But I think that they have one more show because I think there's only been like 2 takeovers this year. And I don't know if they're only going to do 3.
Yeah. Who do you got, Benny?
Because I get what you're saying. Like you're saying that SummerSlam, all Undisputed Era is gonna hold the titles at the end of the night. Like I get where we're pushing towards that. I know. I get where you're going with this. That's why I stopped what I said. I get it.
Benny.
Yeah, I think right now, this whole card had me going all over the place today. As I'm sitting up here looking over it, I Googled the match card because I honestly couldn't remember who was supposed to be, wrestling. So I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out how exactly we're going to be, where we're going after all of these. And the overwhelming thing that I kept coming back to was Undisputed Era and this turmoil that I don't think is over yet. So what I'm looking at is them not winning the championships this time around. I honestly think the Street Profits are going to take it, which is going to play into something else even later. Because if you remember correctly, I also picked Matt Riddle and not
Mhm.
Roderick Strong.
Mhm.
I think UE is going 0 for 3 tonight or tomorrow night.
I agree with you
And I
100%.
think that is going to play into a major, major storyline involving them.
Well, here's the thing. Like I said, I when I said that I want Undisputed Era to clean house, that's what I wanted. I started with the tag teams, but here's the thing: you can't have them holding on to them and getting them so early, especially the tag team. So I think the Street Profits are going to win it tomorrow. Again, they're going to win it, and then but Undisputed will end up with it, and I believe they'll get it in the SummerSlam weekend.
Okay. Okay.
I feel you.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, because you want to,
That makes sense.
like, I know what you're saying. You want Street Profits to get a big pop in a big arena, but the thing is, you can't hold off too long on Undisputed getting the belts.
Mhm.
Right. And
So
if Triple H wants to keep them, they're gonna have to all hold titles at some point, and that's gonna have to really play into Triple H's major storylines. That's the only way he can protect them in that sense. So I get what you
right,
mean.
right. So they start off with the tag teams again. Um, it's gonna be a good match. I think the Street Profits will have the high spots when they win. I think what's their name?
Oni and Larkin.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do a lot of power moves and they're gonna just wreck shop.
Yeah, I think they're gonna
Peop-
have a lot of. I wouldn't actually be surprised if they win because they're an easy enough team to take the titles off later.
Yeah,
So like I could
yeah,
see that, or
I
or
could see that
Forgotten
happening
Sons
too.
winning because it's like Undisputed Era is so popular that you can't see them as heels, and Street Profits are so popular. But the problem is if you don't pull the trigger on Street Profits now, can they maintain this momentum that you've now built them towards,
But
or will
see,
they just fizzle out?
here's the question then. Here's the question. So who needs the belts more? Do the Street Profits need the belt? Does Undisputed need the belt? Does the Forgotten Son need the belt? Or does Lorcan and his partner need the belt?
Larkin and his partner
And
definitely don't need it, but it's easy enough to put it on them.
and then you also have to think about building that belt too. So it's like
Yeah,
it's a double-edged sword. You know, you could put it on Street Profits, but they might not need it. So are they really going to build the belt? So I'm starting to think about it, and I wonder if they do. Like I might have to agree with you. They might put it on Lorcan, and
because like because they're the only problem with putting them on Oni and Larkin is that Oni and Larkin aren't great on the mic, but I think that's why they split them up for a little while and put Oni on. They put Oni on NXT UK and another tag team, and then they put Larkin on 205 Live as a heel to
yeah,
do promo work and to get promo reps. So like they may be just gearing up to put it on them, or I think the smarter decision would be to put it on Forgotten Sons right now because it goes into their whole like we are forgotten no more kind of thing. Like now you can't forget us, now you can't forget us. But Street Profits, they can still feud with Street Profits, and then while, as Benny alluded to, that whole Undisputed Era arc kind of plays itself out, it ultimately ends with another big blowout, like another like triple threat tag team situation where Undisputed Era will win, and then you would already have a team to chase them, and you would have the team that you've built win. Like it kind of solves all of your problems, and Street Profits still remain relevant because they would still be feuding for the titles because the titles would be on heels. So I think the smart move would be to put it on the Forgotten Sons.
yeah. I want to say Street Profits, but for something tells me it's going to be Oni and Birch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going with Oni and Birch on this one.
I'm gonna go with the Forgotten Sons.
I'm sticking with Street Profits.
Oh
No, watch
wow.
on Zero win.
Yeah,
Then we all be wrong.
we're all split up here. So all right, so Street Profits, and the next match pretty much is the women's championship.
This one's hard. This one
Yeah.
is tough.
So you got Shayna Baszler taking on Io Shirai. So here's the thing. So again, it comes down to does Triple H keep Shayna with the belt in order to kind of find a way to keep her down there, or does he have her lose and possibly lose her to a call up?
Right. Because again, the perfect person to me to beat Becky or Bailey is Shayna, because she's got a gripe with both of them coming in, and then Shayna's the type that you can put the title right on her and she'll be phenomenal. Like she'll be great with the title on her on either brand. And since it seems like they're not doing the four horsewomen thing at all anymore, even though I did hear a rumor today that Vince and Sasha did have a meeting last week, and that things do look very promising, and that word is that it's possible that they could be bringing Sasha back into the fold come the summer.
I heard the same
That's
thing.
just speculation. So there's no real verifying source that we can go by, but I think that it's more likely than not, considering that she's been a lot more active on social media, and not just with her Twitter fingers, but also on IG and posting a lot more professional pictures. She still hasn't removed the WWE moniker from her name. A lot of the early indicators that someone's been released or that there's a meeting that's going bad. So I think Sasha could definitely reemerge in the summer. And with Bailey kind of going off on her own and Becky being on Raw now, presumably, it would allow Sasha and what's her face, Becky, to kind of do the whole team up thing, or it would allow Sasha to just come in and compete for the Raw Women's title or the SmackDown Women's title, depending on how they want to spin it. But personally, I'm not an Io Shirai fan, in the sense of I think she needs a manager, because I don't know what they're trying to do with these Japanese people on the mics. Like, I get it, they're talented, but these promos outside of Asuka, because Asuka was just all around amazing as a champion, I don't see Io as a champion that people can kind of get behind, even though she is a face. I just don't see her as a long-term champion. Like, if she gets it now, she'll drop it the next pay-per-view to Bianca Belair, or a returning Dakota Kai or something like that. Like, there are so many other women that, to me, can elevate the title more than Shirai can.
So you have Shayna winning?
Yes, I have Shayna winning. Sorry, all that.
It's all right.
Shayna winning.
It's all right. Submission or pinfall? No, I'm kidding.
When does Shayna ever win by pinfall? Like, let's keep it a buck. When does Shayna do any moves that would allow her to win by pinfall?
No, she doesn't. I think they're all submission wins.
Mm-hmm. And she does all the catch wrestling stuff, so it's not like she can like, I've actually never really seen her do a suplex or like a power move. I don't think. Like, she'll do she's a bunch of striking, and then she'll do a bunch of that catch wrestling, which is really cool to see. But I would love to see her like just throw somebody in like a scorpion deathlock, or like a full Nelson, like a belly to back suplex or something like that. Like, just throw a little bit of that in there.
I thought I saw her doing suplex.
Maybe she did like a fisherman DDT or something like that. I don't know.
No, like a full out suplex, like suplex. I think I have to look back a couple videos. What do you think, Benny?
I have been burned far too many times thinking that it's time for Shayna Baszler to move to the main roster. So I am going to say Shayna Baszler retains the title. However, I do believe that this is only temporary, meaning that when Toronto rolls around, I do believe she's going to be dropping the belt then. As y'all know, I am a huge fan of all of the Japanese women in the WWE. I love Asuka. I love Kairi Sane. I love Io Shirai. But and I want to say, and granted, this is main roster stuff, the basic treatment that you've seen with the Japanese superstars has not been good. Right? So what I'm basically looking at is, even if she won, she's a transitional champion. Who are you transitioning to at that point? Right? Jaquan Bord or Bianca Belair. There's also Tegan Knox, who should be coming back soon. Hopefully.
Dakota Kai, who should
Dakota
be coming back
Kai.
soon.
And you also have Candice LeRae. Oh, now, I don't think they would do face versus face, but
That's
I
another thing
honestly think
that plays into that.
I think that just because of the fact that you could build this power couple down in, well, here I go again. You could build this power couple in NXT, granted as faces with Gargano and Candice LeRae.
I mean, you
Say
could,
Candice
but
wins the NXT Women's Championship in some type of a triple threat at NXT Takeover Toronto. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there.
I
But yeah,
mean,
anyway, long story short, I'm going with Shayna Baszler.
Shayna. Yeah, I'm going with Shayna. I mean, I want to say Io, but I just don't see it though. I don't see it.
Here's the thing. My bad to cut you off, but honestly, if Io was going to win that title, why not do it at Mania? You can protect Shayna Baszler in that fatal four-way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else could have taken the fall, but no.
Mm-hmm.
You decided to destroy Bianca Belair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And keep the title on
it really had a lot to do with Triple H had a choice to make, and the choice went beyond storytelling. It went to the fact of, if I give you her now, you're going to ruin her long term.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it came down to, because again, he gave them Lacey Evans. I think if you would have given the title to Io, Lacey Evans was the natural next competitor to go with, because they were building Lacey up to be the next one up.
Yeah.
And it would have been like, the Southern Belle or the American Marine against the Japanese chick, it writes itself. Like, it's a little racist, but it's typical old school attitude era Triple H. Like, it would have worked, and it would have worked beautifully, because they could have played on the fact that Io doesn't speak a lot of English, that her accent is rough. Like, they could have done a lot of that, and that's the kind of heat that Lacey Evans could have really enjoyed. And then to put the title on Lacey Evans, you can get, all these international stars over. Like, because then you get Dakota Kai back, you get Tegan Knox back, you get Mia Yim, perfect example that could have definitely, and to me, they're building her to be the next champion. And I think that, her relationship with Shayna Baszler and with the Four Horsewomen, even though you don't see that on NXT TV, says a lot of, I think if Shayna had a choice, she would lose it to Mia Yim and not to Io Shirai. And I think that's kind of the relationship that she has with Triple H right now, where it's like, I want to keep you here to protect you, and I'm going to let you give me the call as to when you want to lose the title. But I need you to help me get these other people over. And I think Io's going to have a great match and a great showing. Like, I don't think at all Io's going to look weak in losing this match. Because I think Shayna has a way of making it look like, even though she's in control, she kind of always looks like she's on the ropes against a star that kind of is very high octane, like the way Kairi Sane was. And Bianca Belair is a very, like, power move, high octane, big move. But then Shayna Baszler somehow, kind of like the way Velveteen beat Matt Riddle, kind of slithers in, hits you with a chokehold, and that's it. It's not a dominant win, but it's a win. And it's like she's barely escaped. So for her to lose to like a Mia Yim or a Dakota Kai who has history with her is more impactful than for her to lose to Io Shirai. As long as she makes Shirai look good in the process.
Yeah. Well, the way I'm looking at it is, if you give it to Io, who is she going to face off next? Somebody does a rematch.
Bianca Belair at this point. That's it.
And then at Bianca, it's like, okay, so that you put the strap on Bianca.
By that point, you should have a lot more. You should have a lot more talent. But then you play hot potato. You're right.
Yeah, you play hot potato, and you don't want that. Not with the women's belt. I mean, the women's belt has never been hot potato.
I mean, and also you have to look at the fact that and this plays into it as much as we don't talk about it as much. NXT UK, Toni Storm is having a great run, but Dakota Kai is also from New Zealand. So even if they don't do it with this title, they could definitely do it with the NXT UK title. So that may play into some of the women who we think should get the title on NXT. They could be shifting them over to NXT UK, so that could thin the herd a little bit.
We'll see.
Which is why I think it could be Mia Yim or Candice LeRae for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. We all agree on this. Shayna winning. The tag team is the only one that we've kind of disagreed on.
Because of the way they did it. So now it's like, who are you going to put it on? And what's the plan?
Yeah. Yeah. So going to the main event, we have Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. I have a feeling we're all going to agree on this one.
Yep.
I think it's 100% Johnny because it just doesn't. His title reign hasn't been enough where I can say, like, okay, he's had his run.
Right.
Like, especially because if his is anything short of what Tommaso's was in terms of impact, then he's just a paper champion. Like, you just kind of, he's like Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Like, it's kind of like, it's a good moment, but it's cheesy. Like, you need moments and you need matches. And then with Tommaso losing the way he did, you kind of still have to build Johnny as a believable champion.
Yeah.
Because it's like now instead of having the payoff be like he finally beat Tommaso, which legitimizes him, it's like no, he never beat Tommaso. So he's still kind of in a way proving that he can, run the main scene because he's always been the underdog. Like it's like Daniel Bryan when he first won the title. Like he needed to hold it for a little bit before we actually believe like, okay, Daniel Bryan's the main eventer. And then on top of that, if Johnny drops it, he's gone. Where are you gonna put him on? 205 Live? Like,
yep.
You're gonna put him on SmackDown, but then even SmackDown is kind of terrible right now in terms of the main title picture because as great as Kofi is, Kofi's still kind of New Day Kofi. So it's like this is cool, this is great, but it's still kind of gimmicky as a world champion. Like I don't believe Kofi is being a world champion just yet. So it's like, do you throw Johnny in that mix? Or I guess what is the Intercontinental title? Like he would be great in the Intercontinental title picture, but that's even getting a little crowded now. So what do you do with Johnny?
The thing is, even if you put him in the mid card for either brand, it's.
Oh no, God! Please don't put him on Raw. Like just Jesus Christ, no.
Just in general, if you put him on either brand, if you have him going after the mid card title, the mid card titles are all screwed up right now. They're just trash.
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah,
both of them. So I mean, you actually could use them to elevate the title, but the problem is they're going to screw it up with the fact that they'll give him the belt and then he'll get squashed out in another match or two. So he's not even
like the same thing they did with Finn.
Yeah.
Or like they're doing with Finn. And then plus I think that the whole Finn Andrade, like that has a lot of potential, but that still has to play out. And then you have Finn Ali, that still has to play out. So like what if you're gonna take the title off of Johnny, what are you doing with him? And then like when do you debut him in Saudi Arabia? That doesn't make sense.
Oh God,
it makes more sense to wait to and like debut him in a open challenge at SummerSlam. Like that makes more sense to me.
I think you can do him as a special in Survivor Series in one of the classic Survivor Series matches
you could
as a what should we call it? What the heck is it? Surprise or unknown wrestler.
I mean, you could do it that way too, but I just rather put a title on him right away because I don't know if he's gonna get the same pop that he did in NXT that he would get on the main roster. Because like look at Alistair and Ricochet. Ricochet still has those two guys have the benefit of a great entrance to get kind of people like behind it because they get the character a little bit. But even those guys have kind of lost their luster a little bit because of the fact that they're stuck in the shuffle. Like Ricochet is feuding with what Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley, or I don't even know who the heck
at the moment.
Oh, Cesaro.
At the moment, it's Cesaro. Yeah,
Cesaro.
Well, see,
so like,
and this is the problem. This is the problem I had with when they signed him. This was I was afraid of, and it happened that he was gonna go to the main roster and he was gonna get screwed over. Alistair's just sitting back doing promos of being the boy in black in the dark.
I mean, they kind of need to do that with Alistair, though. Like, they need to reestablish him as a dark presence. And this is why I think Bray Wyatt's going to go to Raw. Because having Alistair and Bray Wyatt on the same show doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because their gimmicks kind of play into each other almost. Like, it would be cool if they faced each other, but it wouldn't work in terms of having that scare factor and fully taking advantage of both their characters. So I think Bray ends up on Raw. But I do think with the wild card rule, like Bray and Alistair is definitely a rivalry that's going to happen at some point.
So here's the issue that looking at this match now, Gargano and Cole. So if Cole loses his match, then he's gonna have to be sitting in the back burner for the title. He can't be going too much for the.
Not necessarily. It's because if you look at the way they're building Adam Cole, he's Triple H in terms of he hates to lose and he's a ticking time bomb. So even if he loses, he's going to blame someone else. So you almost kind of have the next couple where he starts to blow up on Undisputed Era, and it only gets fixed when he finally wins the title. And it's almost one of those situations where like they all can hold titles, but then it's the Batista like thing where they can almost kind of kick Cole out at that point. Like you can have the turn happen where all of them have titles, and then Roddy takes over and Roddy goes after the title. But then everybody else is like, wait, hold on. You still have a title. You have a title. And it's almost like Cole and Roderick go back and forth in terms of loyalties, and they both can lose the titles because of each other, and it builds that rivalry. And then once you blow it up, then they can go to the main roster, and it's quick and clean. Nobody gets hurt.
I got one for you.
Their arc kind of blows up.
Betty, you point out something.
Yeah, your eyes are twinkling right now.
Yeah.
I was sitting there. Half of that is me falling asleep. Not because of y'all, it's me because I'm freaking tired. I have a feeling, and like I said, this is where I feel that you were going to get this offer with Undisputed Era. Roderick Strong is going to cost Adam Cole the championship.
Ooh.
Not on purpose, but in some way, somehow, you are going to have a bit of a repeat from TakeOver New York, with the 587 kickouts as well. But some way, somehow, you're gonna end up in a situation where somebody's gonna be setting up for a super kick, and Johnny Gargano is gonna duck out of the way real quick, and either Cole is gonna hit Strong or Strong is gonna hit Cole. One of the two of them, and that is how Johnny Gargano is gonna retain that championship. And then you're like I said, this is where the blow up is gonna start with Undisputed Era.
Well, let's look back now. There is Clash of Champions going on this year.
Okay.
So the way I look at it is, I see everybody getting the belts, and at Clash of Champions, I see Roderick Strong as I'm not sure how it's going to happen, as a North American champion, and Adam Cole as the NXT champion, facing off each other, because they start beefing at some point before that show. And it comes up, well, you know what? Clash of Champions is coming up soon. So how about we go title for title?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the blow up ends up happening, because I believe Adam Cole finally winning that belt, his ego gets the best of him, and he believes he's better than he is.
Yep.
And I think Roderick will use that moment to say, well, I'm the North American champion, so I actually should be the number one contender. So let's go at it, because I'm a champ, you're a champ. Let's go. Let's see who's the best. And I think that's where it blows off at.
I see them. I see exactly what you mean. It's kind of like Evolution meets the Shield fallout almost, where like you look at Adam Cole as kind of like the Seth Rollins in that situation, where he just completely, like, once he wins, his ego just goes out of control. Like it just he just completely goes off the rails, to a point where Bobby Fish and all of them are just kind of like, yeah, we're gonna step back and we're gonna let you guys just beef, and we're just kind of gonna,
Yeah.
And even to a point where that beef could even they can use that beef to get the titles off of Undisputed Era in terms of the tag team titles, where like both of those guys try to come and help, and then they end up fighting each other, and they try to break it up, and whatever team they're facing hits the finisher on one of Undisputed Era, and then boom, they lose the title.
Yeah, because if you think about it, are you really gonna have Adam Cole face Walter at Clash of Champions?
Yeah.
Adam Cole would die.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Doesn't make sense.
So
that's
I mean,
another interesting, kind of consideration is, where does NXT UK play into all this, and are they going to bring like that brand over for Clash of Champions? It would be smart if they did, because like you have 4 women's champions, like that would be a great fatal 4-way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a situation where NXT UK, if Walter is still champion and he still has his whole little stable, you could definitely have a situation where they cut a promo and say like, we're not facing your mid-card champions. Like, we're not a mid-card. We are the world. He's the NXT UK champion. He's a world champion. If we're not in the world championship picture, then we're not wrestling, kind of thing. Where like then you can have a situation where you have Kofi, Seth, and Walter. Or according to, Paul Heyman's promo, Brock Lesnar's cashing in on Monday on one of the champions. They're not saying who, but at some point he's cashing in, and it's a done deal. So does Kofi drop the title now for Brock? And then you have Walter, Brock, and Seth.
No, Clash of Champions like late in the year. I think November.
You know what I'm saying? Like because you don't know what their plans are for Brock. Because again, Brock getting put into.
No. It's before Survivor Series. So it's probably September or October.
So again, with Brock having the contract and them trying to get the contract off of Brock now, because their whole attempt to rebrand him and whatever the heck that monstrosity of a promo was with him with the Money in the Bank as a freaking boombox, which is literally the stupidest thing. I'm like, I saw a promo with CM Punk back in 2011 when he called Vince out for this crap, where he was just like, you're not on the pulse of the wrestling community as a whole in 2011. It's 2019, like it's almost a decade later, and he's only gotten worse.
It's been like that for years. It's been like that since he bought
I feel like now I think it's coming to a head now because of AEW. Because of the fact that NXT is more successful than any of his main roster shows. The only one that's not really successful right now is 205 Live and NXT UK. And NXT UK is successful in the UK. So it's like it's doing its job. So everything but what Vince has his hands on is successful. He's the only one that's not really successful. So it's like at some point, Vince is just now getting exposed. And now with, Moxley coming out and straight up, tearing the curtain off the whole thing, where he's just like, Vince did this and Vince tried to basically make me cut a promo on Roman for having cancer and thought it was, tried to make an angle off of this. And everyone trying to basically bail to go to AEW, like, it's only going to get worse from here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if Triple H is smart, he's going to push his guys the best way he can. He's going to push his guys and just let Vince burn.
Oh, yeah.
Because at this point, you just you got to let the Empire go. And we got to let Benny go before he passes out in front of the goat, the Eagle
pretty
over
much.
there.
Yeah. So we're pretty much all in agreement Gargano's going to win this one.
Yep.
It should be a good 3-hour card.
Mm-hmm.
The way I look at it.
It's too bad they like every other takeover they would usually have someone debut. Like there's no big free agents out there that they can like kind of market through the crowd. Like the last one was Kushida, and Kushida is.
And Kushida only came over because this is all he had left to do.
Yeah, like everyone's kind of gonna go to AEW now. Truth be told, or they're gonna try to go there anyway.
Yeah, this will be a point in time where AEW is going to turn people away.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. We will see.
And with that, we will leave you guys all till next time. But one more thing. Don't forget to check out the website, thesportsmarksanalyst.com. Article by Benny, our very own. He rebranded, he reworked WrestleMania 35. Check it out. He reworked even the women's title belts. He put a whole storyline on that too.
Oh, yeah.
And I meant to do this the last time. I had to apologize to Joe. Shout out to the nosebleed section. Shout out to the starting 11. Shout out to our new basketball podcast that's starting up that they just did earlier tonight with Jaquan as a star. Like we got to put some spotlights on our people. So there you go.
So yeah, so remember, check it out. Stay on top. We got everything coming around. There's us here, 3 Count with the wrestling. We have the nosebleed section with football. We have starting 11 that I host with Joe, and a couple other guys that are coming on. For soccer, Jaquan just started the basketball. What's the name of the show, Jaquan?
The show is still to be announced at this point. We're still working on a name. If you guys want to check out our video and comment under the video to let us know what you guys think we should start calling the podcast from now on, that'll work too. Give us a like, subscribe, and just let us know what you guys think.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you guys enjoy the show for NXT 25. Peace out.